So let me show you this. This is gonna give you a better idea of actually what inspired me. You look at this water bottle, right? And the way I tend to explain this to clients is because of COVID, and even prior to COVID, we were still doing some virtual and some in person, but it never really became the norm. Nobody really spent the time and money to figure out the better way to do that. And so imagine your in-person audience is over here, and then imagine on this side, and then imagine your virtuals over here. If there's another pandemic, you can't do this. You can't split 50-50. You have to pivot one way. And if there is no pandemic and everybody wants to do it in person, you pivot this way, but you're still missing some attendees that are unable to join because you name it, unable to travel, sickness, family stuff. Also from a company perspective, the amount of money they have to spend. I mean, our client currently is saving probably $100,000 in not having to fly in, lodge everybody, right? And so anyway, you look at this, our concept was this is your entire audience. They're 100% they're in person or 100% virtual or 50-50 or 60-40. It doesn't matter. Your audience is always engaging with your content. And so it was literally, I mean, I drink water like it's my job. And so I saw that and it just kind of clicked. It's like, wait a minute, this has to be a full experience virtually as it is in person, and neither should have to miss on one element or the other. And that's essentially the core of who we are, one, and the lacking element that you currently have with most audiovisual companies or most venues or most platforms. That's the thing. You don't have a company that is the venue and the platform. You have venue who knows nothing about tech, and then you have the platform who knows everything about tech but knows nothing about the venue. So that's essentially this. This is bridging that gap. Well, hi, my name is Martin, founder of EVNTS Group. What we do is we provide both the in-person physical space for your events and the virtual venue platform that we've created. So events are moving forward. They're going to be hybrid. It's the only way that events are going to continue to move forward. And we want to provide that flexibility for our clients. You can go 100% virtual, 100% in person, or you can have a little bit of both. So far, most of our clients actually have been hybrid, which is pretty cool to see that play out and then see the interaction between remote audience and remote presenters and how that takes place in a virtual, in a physical setting at the same time. So that's been pretty sweet. Oh yeah. In fact, we say that we don't say the Z word. That's kind of our thing, because Zoom has essentially captured our market with a very low quality product. So the bar is actually kind of right here, where what we're doing is way up here, because now you're gaining the high-end production value of an in-person experience, but yet you're able to present it in a virtual setting. While with Zoom, the best thing you got is somebody with maybe a camera right here and they're presenting and then it's kind of distorted, the angles are weird. So they're not production people. We don't expect people to do that. That's why we take over the entire production so that your experience could look really good virtually. We had one client that had about 400 people in person and they had only 200 virtual. We had another client that had, for example, this client that we're currently working with, we have like 60 people here in person, but they have 250, nearly 300 virtually. And so they essentially said, everybody that's in our local office here in Salt Lake, come in person. Everyone else that works around the entire United States just joins in via the platform. So we built our own platform, and it's a very interesting platform. The setup is modeled after an in-person venue so that we can bridge the gap between that engagement that takes place in person that now is lacking, and we compensate by making that experience a little bit more engaging, and it feels like you're in a venue, but it's virtual, right? So yeah, we built our platform. There's video chat, there's text chat. You can engage with a presenter. There's moderator tools. It's pretty cool to see, what our clients are using it for. So it's we have two ways of doing that. We have had panels. In fact, we just did 2 today, where the client has 5 people sitting there. There's moderator plus 4 more people, and then we actually had a virtual panelist that joined from his living room. And as far as the audience remotely engaging with what is happening in person, is done in 2 different ways. One, they can opt for just a simple chat, like text chat option, and all that is being moderated. So our tool also allows a moderator to be able to point the right questions and send them over to either the presenter, or in this case, the moderator of the panel itself. So you would have a exclusive virtual moderator person, right? So you can do it with text chat like that, or you can engage with video, kind of like what we're talking right now, and they would be asking those questions directly on their computer, the same way that I'm talking to you. And there's that other moderator that is in person, now able to answer those questions either directly to the person asking the question, or it's able to send that information to the presenter, and then the presenter can address that to the person with their name and with their information, actually answer the question directly that way. So we were able to accommodate 450 people while meeting all the guidelines by the Department of Health, and still social distancing everybody, still checking temperatures at the door, still handing out free masks, and still meeting restaurant guidelines for for brunches and for breakfast that people are doing in the morning. So we can accommodate all those things. Up to 560 people is what our current capacity is with COVID. We do have overflow rooms if they're not being used as breakouts as well. But without COVID, we can accommodate 1,000. That's what the venue is made for. What events is that in-person space for an event and the virtual space for an event. So that's at a basic level, we're just the home of hybrid events. At a wider view of what we do is we handle all the production, and that means audiovisual production, equipment rentals. We also handle all of the management with the clients. So we'll also handle additional services like catering or decor, or whatever, entertainment. All that is essentially just the management hub. And then there is the venue hub, where, like I said, you have the in-person, you have the virtual, and then there is, that audiovisual aspect. And so as far as the way that we operate, we're able to tap into a network of underutilized venues across the United States. And currently we're expanding that network due to COVID. There's a lot of restrictions, but our next few venues are opening in Florida. We have Texas, we have Vegas, and believe it or not, we're actually gonna go open one in Boise, Idaho, just because the market is kind of booming over there. So we tap into this underutilized network of venues that we are creating. So they're our own venues. We have the exclusive rights to those venues, and they come included with all the audiovisual infrastructure that you would need, which cuts back the expense on logistics, on additional labor, even some equipment rentals. What our client is getting here, for example, for the same budget, last year they just got a room at a Hilton hotel with PSAV as their audiovisual company. And so the value was like here, right? Decent. But that same budget, they're over here with us. They're getting a virtual platform, they're getting virtual attendees, remote presenters, they're getting high-end audiovisual, all that kind of stuff that you would expect with a higher end event. You get that roughly at about 40 to 60% less of what you would normally be paying. So let's see, with COVID, we actually started the company like right at the beginning of 2020, which is the worst year to start an event production and management company. But yeah, so we did a soft launch in February. COVID hit hard in March. So literally 2 weeks after we soft launched, and had clients sold, we were super excited. Everything died, like everything. We didn't have clients. All of our venues that we had foreseen that were going to be opening in 2020, we weren't able to open. We have a couple in California. California is like, can't open anything there right now. So we faced a crazy challenge, right? And I guess the advantage is this whole thing has been self-funded, so we didn't have to have any conversations with investors. That would have been hard. Our original concept was a network of affordable venues across the entire United States. We want to be able to make high-end events for the rest of the companies that don't have high-end budgets, but we're also not a budget company because you actually want quality. So we're kind of that middle of the road. We're not crappy. We're not, web cornerstone over here, super high-end stuff. We're over here, and you're not paying this super high-end rate. So anyway, when COVID hit, we decided to pivot and then build our own platform. Now, a million other companies out there build their own stuff, but the advantage is that we built our platform with a production core, if that makes sense. So essentially, people are using Zoom for virtual events, people are using Hopin for virtual events, and people are using even Microsoft Teams for virtual events. Those are not virtual event platforms. They're just a remote meeting, but you don't have production value. So essentially, we took that concept, we made our platform with production value embedded into it at its core, and that's how the whole thing came about. We went from just wanting to be an in-person experience to refusing to be only virtual and left with the only alternative, which was we're a hybrid company. That's 100% what we do as hybrid. And the core of our company, which is being built, is a single platform where you can manage both your in-person and your virtual events, bridging that entire gap altogether. Because I live here. That's one of the factors. When I started surveying venues possibilities, looking at demand, looking at the geographical region of who is around the venue that we are prospecting, I figured I'm in the second or the best. I think we're the second best economy in the United States. So that was a huge plus. We're at the heart of Silicon Slopes. That's why we call this the Slopes Event Center. And it is a great pool of really like-minded individuals, capable individuals, educated individuals. And so from there, it was a path of least resistance. We can pilot in Salt Lake City / Draper and prove whether the model is successful or not. And we thought it was actually going to be harder. It surpassed my expectations as to how successful the concept could be of utilizing our own network of venues, which is composed by schools, churches, and theaters. And so half the people, the one that we have here in Draper, it's a church, but nobody knows it's a church because it doesn't look like a church. And yet it has all the production value that you would have at the Salt Palace, for example.